Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic / Non-Classic. This is episode number 531 and Doubleshot number 439. Two DC trades, both of whom I personally own, and these are the last two trades for these two trade series. First up, it is Savage Hawkman, Volume 2. Wanted, collecting issues 0 and 9 through 20. Now, there are many different writers in these issues, believe it or not. Yeah. You have Rob Liefeld, Tom DeFalco, Frank Tieri, and Mark Putlin. Joe Bennett, who basically did the artwork for the previous book, thank God for him staying on the artwork, despite the fact they changed it from Tony S. Daniel to this guy, Rob Liefeld, for some reason. With Jack Johnson and Fabrizio Fernito. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. The cover art is done by Joe Bennett, Art Thurbert, and Guy Major. Art Thurbert is the inker, and Guy Major is one of the colorists. Now, I've got to talk about this new look for Hawkman after his really good and interesting look he had from Volume 1. Okay, the suit, I don't have a really big problem with it. It's okay. There's a couple problems with it. One, for some reason, Liefeld gave him Wolverine claws. Not kidding, they gave Wolverine claws, despite the fact he has claws. It's called his fingernails. And also, they changed the good-looking, the pretty decent-looking mace he had to a battle axe. No idea why Liefeld did this for, but he did. He basically did it when he took over as the writing duties for this book, along with Grifter and Deathstroke. And just by sheer coincidence, all three books got canceled. Though this one, Deathstroke, ended after 20 issues, while Grifter ended after 16 issues due to low sales. Excuse me. Now, Rob Liefeld writes a good chunk of this. He writes this up until around issue 15. Yeah, he takes over issue 9, leaves issue 15. Frank Tieri writes issues 14 to 16. And pretty much with a lot of the co-writing duties for a lot of Rob Liefeld is done by Mark Putlin, and Tom DeFalco does pretty much the rest of the series. Now, the Rob Liefeld stuff deals with Hawkman Wanted. Yeah, that's the emphasis of his entire run. Basically, up until for the first 4 issues of his run, it simply put a setup and prelude into Hawkman Wanted. A really good crossover, mind you. It's good storytelling with it. Plus, he even teams up in this crossover with Deathstroke and Green Arrow, which I think and this is just my opinion, I think this crossover saved the Green Arrow stuff for cancellation. While in the case of Deathstroke, right after this crossover wrapped up, the series got canceled. Yep. And also revealed that this Hawkman is not the Golden Age Hawkman. It's the Silver Age one. This is the third version of him. Yes, this is the third version of the alien Hawkman. There are two different Hawkmen. My friend Edgar thinks that there's only one Hawkman, he's an alien. There are two. Yeah, one from the Golden Age. I mean, yes, there was one after Crisis on Infinite Earths. They kind of mixed their origin stories a bit. But yeah, Carter Hall, the one that basically was one of the founding members of the JSA, he is human. Katar Hall is an alien. He's Thanagarian. Yeah, and also, the way they reveal who Shiera is in here, yeah, Hawkgirl shows up in here throughout the Hawkman Wanted storyline where she dies. I'm going to show you what she looks like in here. This is Shiera Thal. Yep, the Hawk Woman post-Flashpoint. Oh yeah, and the way the origin story revealed for this particular Hawkman is that apparently Kato Hall is an adopted son of the king of the Thanagarian Empire. Oh yeah, and Hawkgirl is the princess of the Thanagarian Empire. Oh, and Kadar, and Shiera are lovers. Well, this is not icky because, well, he's adopted. So, not really a big problem with this at all. I mean, it's kind of the same thing that they explored this with Johnny Blaze and Roxanne Sampson in the Ghost Rider comics, where Johnny Blaze was adopted, and he later married and had kids with Roxanne Sampson, his foster sister. Yeah, but they're adopted. They're not blood related, which does not feel icky despite the fact how basically how it is. Oh yeah, and the cover of the trade, yeah, that's issue 0. Almost every single issue 0 had this style of cover. Just it seems like they just used the cover for issue 1 and have the new outfit just have the character punch themselves out of the cover. Yeah, that's the way it was. And simply put, the last couple storylines in here, right after Hawkman wants it wrapped up, you have a two-parter which focused on the debut of the post-Flash version of the Shadow Thief, who was a woman this time, not Carl Sands. Yeah, Carl Sands was a long-time version of the Shadow Thief. He'd been a Shadow Thief since his debut appearance back in the 1960s, when Gardner Fox created that character for the first Hawkman series that Hawkman had. Of course, that was Kato or Hawkman, not Carter Hall. Carter Hall didn't get his ongoing series until the 2000s. And this is what she looks like. This is the Shadow Thief. That is her. Yep, Shadow Thief, that is a woman. And yes, she got her own one shot. Now, I heard Gentleman Ghost pop up in here. It's been a while since I read these issues. I'm like, okay, I read this. I'm like, where's Gentleman Ghost? I don't see him in here. But he's not the only person that pops up in here. Yeah, so we have 2 issues of Hawkman fighting Shadow Thief, or he also briefly teams up with her. And then for the last, issue of the series, you know what he does? Well, I should say the last couple issues of the series. He fights Blockbuster. Yep. Fights the original Blockbuster, Mark Desmond. Let me get a good picture of him here. Here he is. Mark Desmond, the original Blockbuster. Yeah, and this guy was referenced recently in the pages of Nightwing when Tim Seeley was writing the book. I gotta say, the issues that, and pretty much this layer led into the Justice League America popping up in here, where the last page is like, I have my primary responsibility to the Justice League America, which is the Argus Strike Team, which only existed for barely a year as a comic. Though this end of the series did kind of lead into, well, well, how should I put this? These last couple issues take place, and this is just my honest opinion, before Forever Evil, because Simon Baz only appeared in the book for one issue prior to the start of Forever for the Trinity War tie-in. For the Hawkman Wanted stuff, they're actually pretty good. I don't really care for the change from mace to a battle axe, though it's Liefeld, I guess it's not surprising. But overall, when it comes to the 3 major stories in here, you have Hawkman Wanted, which is most of this trade. The exhibition is 9 to 14. Actually, I think it's 9 to 16. 17 through 19, I think 17 18 is the 2-parter for Shadow Thief, and the last couple issues do a Blockbuster. The stories in here it has pretty decent writing, but here's the problem with the stuff came before Hawkman Wanted. Here's a good picture of his other outfit he had at the end of a series. Yeah, he had that, and that's Blockbuster he's lifting up. Yeah, for some reason, Rob Liefeld was giving him new villains, despite the fact Tony S. Dan already gave him villains. I'm not kidding. He did that. Yeah, I think he did pop up in here. Let's see here. Let's see. Let's see here. We have several villains. We have these 3 here. I mean, I get the fact, yes, you want to create a rogues gallery for Hawkman. Fine. But why not, develop the villains you already got there? And you have what looks like a Bloodstrike ripoff. Yeah. Does this guy look a lot like Bloodstrike or even Deadpool? Yeah. Well, somebody can say, oh yeah, Rob Liefeld created Deadpool, and this guy kind of looks like Deadpool in appearance-wise, not by the snappy dialogue he's known for. That's something Famous Caesar came up with. But he's not the only one. Yeah, and right after he showed up, we also have Saint Bastion. Yep, Saint Bastion. That is really the name of this character. He's got a good-looking attire, but as for what this character is, no idea. The character disappears after like a couple issues. Yeah, that's the weird thing about Rob Liefeld's run prior to Hawkman Wanted. It seems like he tried to do something, but yeah. It just seems like he just wanted to go nowhere with the book. Yeah, it seems like, okay, then we have this strange looking, like, oh yeah, we have Hellspawn, who I think is supposed to be a Wildstorm character. As far as I know, this character did pop on the pages of Superman and a few other books, so at least this guy did pop up in other books. But let's see, we also have, besides him, yeah, and this is just stuff leading into Hawkman Wanted, which is a great storyline. Pretty much, it's the Thanagarians invading Earth, looking for Kadar Hall, and also the stuff dealing with the Nth Metal, which is great. The Shadow Thief stuff is amazing. Talon the Falcon was a great writer, and him taking over for the remaining issues of the series was a good idea. This Batman book was getting canceled. So I guess they figured out, okay, it's Hawkman, so why not bring in one of his classic villains? No, they did gender swap her, and when they first introduced her, this is her introduction to the Shadow Thief. Okay, first you see her attacking somebody for like one panel. That's the first time she shows up in the book. And then the next time you see her, takes a few pages, yeah, you see her topless. Yep. Okay. It's like they were so close to show off her nipples in the scene that, okay, her real name is Avia Matula. No problem with the character way she's designed. It's just that, okay, I don't really get why in the world they had to have this. Okay, you have her taking off her suit, fine, and also apparently the suit is very hard to take off just by looking at her arm. Yeah, looking at her arm, looks like the suit is very hard to take off because unlike the original Shadow Thief where it actually has power, it's actually a suit that she wears, and yeah. That's basically where she is, and since this stuff is like very hard for her to take off, it's called Shadow Skin is what it's called, and apparently her base operations is an abandoned church. Now she only pops up for a couple issues, and then she disappears, and the next time we see her is Forever Evil as part of the Secret Side of Super Villains, so she also had a one-shot as well. It was nice the fact that the way they capped off the series, having 5 blockbusters. Okay, you want to have a really good ending to the series. And I gotta say, this series had a great ending to it. Despite the fact the series has been over for at least for 5 years now. Now I've heard a rumor Hawkman might get another title again. But do me a favor, DC. Don't have Liefeld just... I'm sure they probably won't have Liefeld do it anymore because, well... because he left DC, like, right after he left both this book and Deathstroke and when Grifter ended. Though, if you think of artwork-wise, did he do the artwork? Only for the covers. That is it. Just the cover art. He never did the interior. Joe Bennett pretty much did all of the artwork for pretty much the rest of the series, which is great. But despite that, despite what Liefeld did in here with introducing these dumb villains, the Hawkman Wanted story was great, the Shadow Thief was great, and the two-parter with Blockbuster was great too. It's just the stuff leading up to Hawkman Wanted was a bit bizarre. It's like you have Hawkman fighting these random villains, and then the Thanagarians show up. So very awkward. Though you got praise the fact Liefeld didn't draw this book too. But I'm gonna give this book a 9 out of 10. Despite what happened at the beginning, it does get better after the first few issues. Once you get to Hawkman Wanted. I would have thought with Hawkman Wanted, it would have saved that title just like it did with Green Arrow. But my guess, because Rob Liefeld did some bad stuff with it, that's probably the reason why the book was canceled after 20 issues. Though, that trade is the last one for that one because issue 20 is the last one. Alright? Next up is Talon, Volume 2, Fall of the Owls. 3 writers on this one. You have Jim Steen IV, Tim Seeley, Margie Bennett, and Christy Marks. Christy Marks just does the Birds of Prey issue. James Tynion only does issues 8 to 15. I don't think, the series doesn't have issue 0. The last couple issues, now issue 16, that's done by Margie Bennett and Tim Seeley. And Tim Seeley does the last issue of the series. Excuse me. So pretty much you can kind of say 9 to 14 is kind of, how should I put this? The pretty much wrap up all loose ends related to the Talon comic book. I mean, Gotham Butcher's taken out, which he's an awesome villain. Yeah, teams with Batman, but apparently Batman's prejudiced against all Talons, so he says, oh yeah, this is going to be your final mission, and I'm kind of like, Batman, you know he's not the only Talon not working with the court anymore. What about Mary Turner from the Birds of Prey? Yeah, she apparently gets captured and killed off, though if read Birds of Prey, she's perfectly fine. Though she later popped up in Gail Simone's Secret Six book, which is amazing. I highly recommend that series. It's too bad the series got canceled to 14 issues. But at least it was better what Christy Marks did with Strix. Yeah. And also, the stuff with Condor in here. Now, this is not Black Condor. This is a different Condor where it looks like he's sort of a part of his face. And it seems like the way Christy Marks wrote the series, she forced Black Canary into a relationship with Condor, despite the fact her husband is alive. Her husband's Larry Lance. Yeah. So, oh yeah, in the last couple issues, Talon fights Lord Deathman. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Though, somebody curious though, what happened to this? Why did this series end? The series ended because DC wanted to launch Batman Eternal. They ended this series, Batman the Dark Knight, and Animal Man. Of those 3 titles, Animal Man was probably, and this is of course according to a lot of people, probably the best-selling title out of New 52, probably and one of the most well-written ones. Dark Knight had a rough start to it, but it did get better once Greg Hurwitz took over the book, and for some reason, that didn't save the book for some reason. I don't know why. Tynion took over as a sole writer of the book after Scott Snyder left after the first 7 issues. Oh yeah, the series did start with issue 0. I forgot about that. So you have overall 18 issues of this series, and it did feel like a complete story, but I kind of felt as though if the series had not been canceled, you could have told more story with this character. I mean, if you're going to cancel the series, fine, just do something with the character. Okay, what has happened to this character after the series ended? Well, he did pop up for the last issue of Batman Eternal, 1 year after the end of this comic book. Oh yeah, he's absent of Batman Eternal, no explanation for that. He pops up for a few pages in that, doesn't do very much. Then he pops up 1 year later in the pages of Batman and Robin Eternal, where he pops up for 1 panel, and he hasn't shown up since then. And that comic, Batman Eternal, the issue 25, that came out 2 years ago. So it's been 2 years since Talon has popped up in the comic book. I would have thought maybe he would have popped up in Nightwing or some point, but I guess not. But I keep hoping, though, maybe since Tynion is writing Detective, maybe they'll have him join Batman's strike team. It'd be interesting. But as far as I know, nope, there's probably no plans. I don't know why in the world some people probably didn't want to buy the comic. I couldn't buy the comic at that point because I couldn't afford to buy every single issue. But when I got this thing, when I got this trade, it was only $3.99. There's a cover price. This thing is $19.99 because this collects the last 10 issues of the series plus issues from Birds of Prey. But despite that, this is a good series. I do highly recommend it. Plus, check out the first trade as well. And I'm going to get this book a 9 out of 10. I don't know why James Tynion didn't finish the series. It's like, oh yeah, and also issue 15 didn't focus on Calvin Rose, focused on a past version of Talon. Heck, I even wanted, I would have thought it would be interesting though if they gave Talon an annual, but nope, never gave him an annual. Oh, and by the way, that title was actually, when it ended, it was actually one of 2 titles launched for the third wave New 52, and managed to last longer than almost every single title launched for the third wave. Yeah, it was the second longest third wave title of New 52. Though, the other title that lasted almost as long as that was Trinity of St. Phantom Stranger, though that ended, believe it or not, That book ended roughly just about 5 issues after that one. So that one lasted a little bit longer, but this was a great series. And no one can deny Tindy was a good writer, and he made the character interesting. The one disappointment I have with this trade is that it does not include the Court of Owls Forever Evil tie-in, the Villains Month issue for Court of Owls, because I figured, oh, this book is all about the Court of Owls, so why not include it? Instead, they just included the last 10 issues of the series and one issue of Birds of Prey, though issue 20 does cross over this one as well. But issue 20 is just basically the issue. It takes place during issue 8. It basically ends where issue 8 does for Talon. That's simply what will happen with that issue. I thought it was interesting, though, the fact that they tried to do this, though Birds of Prey managed to last for about 13 more issues before it got canceled. In the case of Talon, this managed to last for 8 more issues before it got canceled. So this ended before Birds of Prey did. Yeah, that's basically what happened with that. Though Birds of Prey is still around, just that the membership is basically 3 people. Batgirl, Huntress, and Black Canary. Though, and yeah, Black Canary is wearing a different costume. At the start of New 52, I gotta show this off here. On the cover of this book, you see Black Canary. That's basically her costume in the start of New 52. And that's Batgirl's costume. Yep. And Mary Turner is the female Talon. Now, she did make a cameo in the film Batman vs. Robin, but that was supposed to be an adaptation of Court of Owls. They threw in elements of, trying to think, it was the first arc for Batman and Robin, and a little bit of Night of Owls. But this is kind of like this is spun out of Night of Owls, because there's one Talon. So I'm gonna give this book a 9 out of 10. It's a great book. All right, so that's it for this one. Stay tuned for 532 and Doubleshot number 440, where I'm going to talk about a Batman trade and a Green Arrow trade. Yeah, I'll talk about that in the next episode, okay? But until you see the next episode, bye.